Welcome back to the NALCS Countdown. We're about 17 minutes away from Champion Select, and it's time for me to begrudgingly hand it over to the analyst on my far left for another installment of Jat Stats. Jat, what do you got for us today?
All right, I'm going to test your European knowledge a little bit of the ELCS.
We had to fly those up, didn't we?
It still happens. Okay, so the first question, as Mark has gotten 2 of the 8 correct, and they're getting a little easier. This is the second most picked AD carry in the EULCS, but it has an 0-2 record in NA.
I think.
Who is this AD carry?
I have a guess.
Well,
I'm going to let James think.
Not Triss, not Varus.
AD carries, so it's a marksman.
Right.
Second
So
most
it could be Callista,
in
because
EU.
Callista has only been picked a couple times in NA and has lost. Otherwise, not Varus, not Triss.
I was going to guess Sivir.
Sivir?
Mark guesses Sivir.
I'm going to go with Callista, because I think it's kind of out of the...
Caitlyn.
Caitlyn's
the second most picked AD in EU.
Huh.
Yeah.
See, I know that they love Sivir there. I can only think of a couple games with Sivir here, so that's why I was pretty confident on that one.
Sivir, I believe, is 1 or 2 games in North America.
Every game's a Jin Air game in
8 and
EU.
6. Also, like, one of the higher win rates as well. Only AD carry with more wins in Europe, I believe, is Tristana. Next Jat stat we're going to have is
More proof they're doing it wrong
the
there.
winningest champion. Winningest champion in the North American LCS with 13 wins, but is the 4th most picked champion in NA.
Winningest champion.
Wins
So
a lot.
most absolute number of wins.
Yep, 13
and
wins.
4th most picked.
Yep, in NALCS.
In NALCS. Okay. Let's think.
I have
What are the
another guess.
top picks? Can we work together on this, Mark?
Do you want?
I hate that you're leaving me up to dry.
I tried
I thought this
competitive.
was like a team
It's
effort.
cooperative. I'm sorry. I was thinking Tarek because it's picked a lot. A lot of the supports who do run it win a lot.
That's a good point.
Tia Liquid plays it a lot. They
No.
have a couple games.
Not Tarek.
Okay, not Tarek.
Not Tarek.
That's strong.
I'm going to go not Tarek.
Don't try and like sway us thinking. That's not helping.
What about a top laner? I feel like the top lane pool always gets whittled down to a certain
I feel like
few.
top lane has a fair amount of picks. You
No?
see like
Okay.
GPs,
Braum.
Orns.
Braum's been played a lot too.
Braum's
It could be very easily a support, but then I feel like you're picking any of them.
Yeah,
All right, you want to go Tarek? I go Braum. Let's cover our
Yeah, we
cover
can
our
do that.
bases.
I'll do Tarek.
Boom.
Tarek Braum.
Yeah.
Gangplank.
It was game.
It wasn't top laner.
It was a
I'm
top
sorry.
laner.
I'm sorry, James.
Yeah, Gangplank and Gnar are both way up there as
I
well.
need a new
Yes,
partner.
Top lane was the right guess.
I felt like GP's lost a lot of games.
Okay, that was too hard. We're giving you kind of a multiple choice question here. So these are the most banned champions in each of the 4 regions. I need you to match the champion with the region in which they are most banned in. So
Okay.
most
Wait,
banned
how do we
champions in NA, EU, LCK, and LPL.
feel like
which
Calista goes to
champion
all
from
of
which
them.
region?
Wait, but I have if we get one of these wrong, the whole thing's wrong.
You will never get it completely right. Yes.
So this didn't get any
This is
easier.
not
It's actually-
easier.
Just
You-
draw the line where you
It's
need
multiple
the line.
choice, but you need to get 4
Where
rows.
is Calista most banned? And they're hints. These are the 4 champions that are
Okay.
most banned. You just got to
Okay,
match it.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna go with Sedge gets through a lot in NA, so it's not.
Yeah, not
it's
Sedge.
not
I was
here.
thinking Sedge for LCK.
Sedge could be LCK. I'd say Callista is us. I've only seen it played like twice.
Yeah,
Right?
Maybe it gets through sometimes. We just ignore it. Like,
All right.
Team
Process
Liquid doesn't
elimination.
do it.
Pick 'em and
All right,
lock
so
'em in.
I'll go LCK Sejuani.
I'm with
I'll
him
go,
on that.
I'll go Camille for
LPL.
LPL.
Yes, because you don't want
Zoe,
top
I
lane
was gonna
carries
do-
for the EU LCS.
I was going to
Oh,
do
you think
NA for Zoe because I feel like it's banned a lot. And then for EU LCS, I'll do Calista.
Has EU ever played Callista? That's the one thing I don't know.
So what are you doing?
I'm doing
Lock
the
it in.
same first 2, but I'm going to flip them. I'm going to go Callista for NA and Zoe for EU. EU mids, right?
Mark got it.
Damn it!
Watch those lines. Populate. Boom.
I had to unbutton my jacket for that. I was like, I was
Done
sweating
some
trying to
tests
think it
in
out.
the past.
Well, admit, you know
Yeah,
what?
Zoe is most banned in NA, Calista most banned in the EU by a wide margin. Camille's really close to not being the most banned in LPL, but everything else is pretty clear. So
Yeah.
Mark improves his, that's the 3rd stat he's gotten correct.
This is getting
You
worse
still
and worse
have
for me
one.
by the week.
And that was
man.
the phone a friend, right?
Yeah, the one I have is the one
It's
that
actually Freak,
is the
yeah.
one that Freak gave me.
Oh,
All right.
Never thought the only point I'd ever earn in a game would be due to Freak.
thanks,
Ugh,
man.
feels
Thanks,
bad.
Yeah, all right, moving on. Yesterday, we saw a certain Scorpion make a splash on stage, so we decided to call upon our resident Skarner expert, Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns, to share with us why we're seeing this jungle pick in the North American LCS. First off, hey, buddy, how you doing? It's good to see your smiling face.
I'm fantastic, man.
All right, so here's the thing. We had a whole bunch of Skarner yesterday. Sad you weren't here to cast it, but you were actually at one point in time the best Skarner in NA, so I need you to help break it down for me. Why are we seeing this pick in the LCS?
All right, it's been a long time coming. I'm really excited to finally see Skarner seeing some pro play, and I think there's a few different reasons why we're getting to finally see him on Summoner's Rift here in the North American LCS. The first reason being the games are so slow right now. The meta is at such a slowed down pace compared to places it's been in the past. The champion is able to proceed slowly without getting off to a bad start. That early game point where he doesn't have access to his ult, where sometimes he can be abused, that's not really a factor. There's not a lot exploding in the early game right now. He's also able to minimize his prioritization of CDR, build pure tank items, because you don't need to have the difference between a 100-second ulti and a 60-second ulti when you're only fighting once every 10 minutes. The runes also doing a lot for him. Summoner Spellbook means more flash ults, as well as having celerity from the sorcery tree, and the free-ass boots from the inspiration tree means you're having an extra 26 move speed on top of that. Goes a long way for a champion that doesn't have a gap closer of his own. And obviously the one that a lot of people are going to think of, the E buff. The stun duration on that going from 1 second to 1.5 seconds means he has so much more crowd control in the kit. It's very easy to lock somebody down if you're able to land that skill shot. And speaking of the E, that's kind of the central focus of the skill build right now. A lot of people think Skarner, they think the Q, they think that spam. But right now, that's not really what you're going for unless you're doing some sort of a 1v9 warrior enchantment build. If you're going for these tanky builds, these Cinder Hulk builds that you're seeing in pro play, it's almost always going to be the E max first, followed by the W max second. Only a single point in Q at level 1 to make sure you've got that ability there. We saw Meteos and Svenskeren both go with this build yesterday. Lyra maxing the Q first while building tank. Can't say I'm a big fan of that one, but when you play this champion, you can do some cool things. You're seeing right now on your screen Svenskeren's early level 4 Drake attempt. Then we switch over. We see the kind of play you're able to make on the enemy AD carry that will not pay the Skarner tax. You buy QSS or you're out of there. Speaking of QSS, though, Gangplank ulti's doing the same thing. But if you play this smart like Meteos did, you wait, he blows everything, you pull him right back into his death, and that's exactly how you have to use the ulti versus a champion that can counter it. But sometimes there is no counter here. Lyra able to make the flash play into the grab onto Bjergsen. There's no way out once you get pulled back like that. Doesn't even bother to waste the flash because you're just done 1 versus 5 in a situation like that. One thing I am going to leave you guys with, yes, this is a new champion on the pro stage, which means you are going to be seeing a lot more of it in your solo queue games. But I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking to play Skarner in solo queue, I'm going to recommend you away from this full tank strategy you're seeing in the LCS. You are going to need some cooldowns. You are going to need some damage. So strap yourself in with a Trinity Force and a Asterix Gauge and go flex muscles in that enemy jungle. Back to you guys.
Damn.
Thank you very much, Flowers. We'll see him in just under 10 minutes for the first game. Now I'm hoping we see a Skarner pick right off the bat so we can let him roll on that a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely dropping a lot of knowledge bombs, but I do question that graphic at the beginning saying he's the #1. I mean,
he did provide that graphic to us.
He gave us that graphic, and like
Yeah.
anyone born this generation has probably enough Photoshop skills to kind of just copy and paste their name up there, so I'm not quite buying this graphic.
All right,
You have to
Detective,
Photoshop
get out
yourself
there.
in as the best Skarner in
Find out whether or not he's telling the truth about his Skarner knowledge. But that's why Skarner works in pro play. I want to put it to you two to make this champ work. Victor, let's go.
Well, with the buffs coming in at 8.3, I think it's actually a decent chance you start seeing him with the shield changes on his Q. He's also always good. He's just a generalist pick that works into a lot of team comps, and he's always just out of the meta. Even when he gets nerfed, he's not out of it. It is difficult due to the changes that came a while ago to his first upgrade, which is always what you're looking for, being 1250, but there's some changes that can help him too.
And here would be the recommended build, and I'm not taking crazy pills. This is what's happened from the #1 Victor in NA, verified, I checked it, no Photoshop needed, done, has gone Fleet Footwork. You can switch between the Tenacity line in the middle tree there for precision or the attack speed. And you may think you don't want attack speed on Victor, but it actually really helps his early laning phase in being able to shove and get more last hits, since getting to 1250 gold is all you care about on Victor right now. That's why he fell out of meta, because that was too difficult.
Yeah, the thing that jumps at me here, though, is this build.
Right, so what's interesting here is how much AP he gets from his Hex Core upgrade, combined with the fact that he got the buffs to his shield. You get huge shields now with the AP scaling and the mana scaling. You build tanky resist, so those get more value. The Fleet Footwork actually has a great AP ratio on there, so you become this kind of tanky sustain monster in fights while doing more damage than anyone else that has.
So, Jad, what's the play pattern then? Because we're used to seeing Victor as this wave-clear team-fighting god. I drop the ultimate bunch of AP and everyone has to disperse, but this doesn't necessarily look like massive AP value.
He's insanely good in 1v1s.
Okay.
Because you get a 600 health shield on a 2.5-second cooldown because you're 40% CDR, and when your Fleet Footwork is up, it heals for over 200 and gives you extra movement speed. So he's almost unduelable when he has those builds. Much like CDR goes to 40% with low cooldowns, that's just a 40% amp in damage. So you don't actually need the AP if you're cycling your spells as frequently.
Okay.
And the playstyle is all about speed. So you're getting your fleet footwork off, you're getting your Musi from Q off, you're slowing the enemy with your really quick auto attack after your Q proc, and you're just running at their carries to keep them out of the fight because they can't trade you when you constantly refresh your 600 health shield. There are still issues in getting to that point because it's about 10,000 gold in before that build gets there.
Wow.
Pro players farm a lot better. I think we could actually see it next patch, even if he's been completely out of the meta for a while.
All right, some thoughts on where, how, and why we could see Victor play. Send your suggestions for Make This Champ Work to @LOL Esports with the hashtag NALCS, and I'll extend the challenge to these two on another day. Before we get into predictions of the week, let's go ahead and listen into some more of player comms from week 3 in Mic Check.
Wow, their icons are questionable.
Amateurs.
Hey, can we get the wolf back, guys?
Which wolf? Which wolf?
Oh, it's the one that faces them. Faces them, yeah. Do the one that faces them.
I got that one.
Hey, they all switched to wolves. Did you see that?
Oh,
Why? They're trying to scare us with the wolves.
Dashan, can we snowball top?
Yeah, I'm fighting top. I'm holding top right now.
Okay.
Where's Rice?
Base.
looking for linking.
Nice shot, Dashan. You want me to come? Good job.
Nice.
Did Johnny?
Ferris no flash. Ferris no flash.
I can speed you in 3.
Speed on me! Speed on me!
I tried.
Speed on me!
I can speed you in 1. I speed you now.
on me!
I speed you.
Speed on me!
I might go fleet footwork sack today. Can I int? No, I just said I'm already doing that.
I don't have vision. I can go over now, but I'm gonna die.
You guys want?
I can go. Finish right now. Finish right now. Okay, go.
Yeah, going.
Guys, watch me.
Yeah.
Yo, guys, go finish Drake too, Captain. I'm gonna hit Drake. Wait, keep going. We can end the game, right?
I'm going.
Trevor.
I'm going.
Go. Trish.
I'm coming. Yeah, go. Anything. I saw Rise.
Wait, stop. We can end the game. We can kill him. We got it. End the game. Yo, go. Let's fucking go, boys.
I hope you guys know that I'm the player to watch. So please give me a lot of credits.
Really? I thought it was.
Or I'm going to be in the flame game next week. You know, as like the
Are you the player to watch or Sneaky and Smoothie the player to watch this game?
Smoothie.
Yeah, them as well.
I'm
So
gonna
it's
be
like,
watching them this game, not you.
Yeah, I'm watching them too.
I'm watching them all game.
I'm tanking.
You tanking?
Oh,
Get comms.
Oh shit, I'm gonna die.
I can take him.
Barons up. Reset.
Reset for dash.
Molting.
Rice will from the farm to that.
Yeah, we can get farm.
Yeah, I'm
we can farm. CS. I think some more CS actually.
Wait, there's a guy. We can kill him.
Ja. Just push mid.
Yeah, push mid. Minion. We can put in 1 minion. I can tank. Fun little buddy.
GG, baby.
Yeah, Optic watching the countdown every day.
Woo,
Power
I'm
People
happy.
knows he's one to watch.
I love
Hello,
it.
Power
I love
People.
it.
Good luck today.
Keep tuning in. Now, as we turn to predictions, I decided to pit another inanimate object against your picks today. For today, it was a throwing dart, where earlier they made some pretty outrageous choices. So here's the deal. I was actually aiming for the teams that I thought would win.
Yep.
You got one of them.
In 4
You
cases,
hit
I
Team
hit
Liquid.
the other team.
You missed entirely twice, even though half the wall were teams.
Oh, please. That's a big wall.
It's not that easy. I'm glad I didn't have to do it. I will say that. So
I know. Oh,
we'll see how you do, James. But you
Serving
basically
Meggy
pick,
like
you
worse
pick the
and worse
underdogs
and worse.
basically every single time.
Well, if we follow yesterday's trends, then I'm
That
going
would
to kick you
outpick.
guys' asses today.
yeah, we'll see.
But as I noticed, you guys only differ on one of the predictions. That's Optic Gaming versus Clutch Gaming. Let's talk about that one just real fast.
I liked what I saw at Optic yesterday. Zig did not get exploited very hard. He's playing against Solo, who's also not as dominating as a lot of the top laners in the league, so I think that should not be a concern this match, and I expect Power of Evil and Arrow to do great.
Yeah, I think that Fabivin is also super good. Lyra is slowly learning how to play on that team, even if it's a little different. I hope he gets back to that point. Also want to call out the TSM versus COG prediction. We did talk about them earlier in the show as that hype matchup. They have been the more consistent team throughout a lot of these games. It's just very small tweaks at the very end of the game. So that's why I'd predict TSM over COG.
All righty, turning our attention to the first matchup. Robert Yip, shared the reasoning behind bringing in a sub-support versus Cloud9.
We're in franchising. I think franchising allows us to look at academy players, look at prospects that have potential, bring them in. And we do in-house scrims versus our academy team. And I think all the good teams scrimmed our academy team a lot. And we saw that JJ is pretty good. He's got a lot of strengths that are similar to stunts, and that he's got a lot of things that he needs to improve on. But at the same time, watching him play, I think we kind of saw that he is ready to try and see if he can, battle against the guys at LCS. C9 looked really good yesterday. I watched the game. It was pretty quick. It was a bit of a stomp. I think the way we look at it, the way we try to focus and frame everything is that even though we might lose some scrims. It's a best of one on the weekend, so anything can happen, anyone can win, and you can see that from yesterday where there were so many upsets, so we're not too scared.
So I've casted all the Academy games. JJ has looked pretty good, so I can understand wanting to give him time, but you're doing it in a situation where you're battling for a playoff spot. So this, in some ways, indicates that they're not 100% happy with the roster. This is not like a week 8, week 9, we're in our spot, give them some playing time. This is, we're battling to figure out what's the best roster right now.
And in a sense, it's kind of a peculiar time to make the move, as both these teams are coming off their best performances of the split just yesterday. Both Cloud9 and FlyQuest put together very solid victories yesterday. So again, with a minute 40 left on the clock, Jad, looking at win conditions for these teams, you're up first for Cloud9. With this sub in for FlyQuest, what's the path to victory?
Yeah, I think even though Cloud9 has won in a lot of different ways, regardless of whether or not there's a sub support, you get Smoothie on a playmaking support, because that's been the key to so many of their victories. Even yesterday when Licorice hard carried that game on Vladimir, it was Smoothie roaming up on Alistair early on to get him going. So super important that he's on an Alistair or something that can make plays.
I 100% agree, which is why one of my 2 win conditions is keep your eyes on Smoothie, control him, don't let him run around the map. And if he is, everyone, hide under your turret, don't go anywhere until you know where he is, because he's going to take over the game if you let him. So whether that's tracking vision, getting a good lane matchup so he can't roam as easily, these kinds of things, control him. Second thing, Fly, 2Fly is what we're going to call him when he's on.
As long as he wins.
Yeah, when he's playing well, he's 2Fly. Otherwise, he's Fly. But get him on a roaming mid. Talia, Galio, Aurelion Sol, a lot of champions he's very good on, and he is a huge difference in play style compared to Keen, so they want that kind of moving around the map and out-roam C9 here.
I mean, win conditions suggest then that for JJ, this is going to be a tough task on day 1 of the NALCS debut for him. 30 seconds ahead of the game, time for us to toss it back over to the casters to get into it.
Thank you very much, Dash. I'm Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns, joined by Sam Kobe Hartman Kinsler. What's up, buddy?
I'm happy to be here with the Skarner main himself.
Absolutely. I hope we get to see some Skarner games today, man. I was watching from home yesterday. I saw 1 Skarner. I saw 2 Skarners.
And
I
you
saw
were nowhere
3
to be
Skarners.
found.
We got to get more Skarners into that. That just means we got to get 4 this time around. But for both these teams, they had good games yesterday. So this should be an awesome matchup to see between them here.
They did. And as you know, as happy as you are about Skarner, a big story yesterday were Galio combination teams. You know, they either would use Camille or Rakan to start off a Galio initiation and then use that to get a huge team fight victory. FlyQuest were one of the ones that got, you know, the overall victory there with one of those combinations. So immediately, no surprise here. Cloud9 are banning out the Galio. Reaper has definitely been one to take a really early attack to these champion selects.
And it wasn't just an okay performance on Galio with that Galio from Fly. He did a fantastic job on the champion. 100% kill participation, 0 deaths. Turtle was able to claim the same scoreline for himself. So both of these guys on FlyQuest, hell of a performance yesterday. Going into Champion Select today, it's the Galio, it's the Cassiopeia banned out by Cloud9, Zoe and Sejuani banned out by FlyQuest. Cloud9 really paying a lot of respect to that mid lane.
Yeah, definitely targeting Fly here. Now, the thing with Fly is it's difficult because yesterday, I feel like they overlooked the overall composition that FlyQuest were putting together, and they went for the target bans. You know, the Talia, he's very well known, you know, for these types of champions, and so they target banned him there, but ended up losing in that case. Now the Talia is open for Fly, even though they did also add in quite a few others here. You know, Azir on the table as well, still one of the most popular on this patch.
That's always one of those tricky lines you have to walk when you're deciding what you want to focus on during Champion Select. You've only got so many bans. I mean, you can talk about, oh, this draft didn't go the way I expected it to, or what were they thinking with this one, but you've only got 3 bans to do, and if you have to pick between stopping the comp or stopping the individual player, that's a hard choice to make sometimes, and the comp for Cloud9 is going to start off with that Azir.
Yep, no surprise here. Jensen definitely going to be happy to have this champion. One of the best scaling right now, huge backline threat. Can also protect the AD carry as well when we get to those 5-on-5s. But on the other side, again, one of the late game prominent carries right now, Gangplank, quite often from the top side, probably going to be in Flame's hands. And we'll see if he can stack that cash up. Everybody's been starting with the Relic Shield for the Bandit passive now, so you get even more gold generation.
Shout out to Jat and his stats again, showing that Gangplank is the most, what was the word, the winningest champion in the top lane, or in all lanes so far in the North American LCS this split. Ezreal, the second lock-in for FlyQuest. You saw him hovering around the Nidalee there for a second. The crowd got a little bit hyped up, but they are going to go towards the Ezreal. Couple different Kleptomancy users here. Cloud9 now having the chance to respond to this one, knowing what the enemy top laner and AD carry will be.
Yeah, a couple of Kleptomancers. We did see a mouse over of the Kog'Maw, and this is still 8.2, by the way. The big Kog'Maw nerfs that everyone is playing on live in 8.3 aren't in yet. So that's definitely a viable option. And if we're talking about protecting the AD carry and those late game damage threats, that would be there. Vladimir is one of the most common picks right now into Gangplank, as we've seen him also scale incredibly well into these mid-game fights and be able to use the untargetability of the Sanguine Pool for a lot of team fights.
Take it away, buddy! All right. We are going to get to see something today.
Now, there are two things here. They are picking the Skarner with the Gangplank on the table, and as you've already gone over, you know, Gangplank can remove Scurvy to get out of that. Skarner now, though, with two very long forms of crowd control, having the E stun increase to 1.5 seconds, is also going to be an option for himself. There's the Taliyah I was talking about for FlyQuest, though. It's one of his most played champions. He's mains this champion, and he is very good at roaming. So it's interesting to me that FlyQuest are putting together a semi-global composition here. Ezreal, Taliyah, and Gangplank can all affect other lanes with their ultimates very easily. So this is already kind of showing that FlyQuest want to move around the map pretty early on, whereas Cloud9 are building an impressive team fight for later.
Now, speaking of moving around the map, I want to go ahead and harken back to what the desk was talking about. Smoothie, his rotations, his support play on these playmakers has been instrumental in Cloud9 victories so far. So I want to see exactly how Cloud9 plays out the second part of the draft with both supports still needing to be picked. FlyQuest has decided they're not concerned about keeping Smoothie away from something like the Alistar. Instead, they're going to target the AD carry role.
And that was a huge mistake yesterday, as we saw. Smoothie on Alistar and Licorice on the Vladimir. Those two could take the same champions today and try and have the same effect. And it was also into a Gangplank there that Impact was piloting that got them off to that early start and got Licorice up to this really impressive Vladimir performance that he was able to pull off.
Well, why ban something away if you just want to take it yourself? We're going to see JJ playing his LCS debut game here with that Alistar, so that should be pretty cool for him if he can make it work like Smoothie does.
And JJ, by the way, you know, they had decided already coming into this weekend before they even played the game yesterday that both supports were going to get a turn on stage. So this has nothing to do with yesterday's performance, and of course they did win anyway. But JJ here kind of representing Toronto. He was a collegiate player. He was on that University of Toronto team. Now he's going to be facing off against a Jinx, though. The crowd was
they're
definitely
hyped
hyped to see this one.
This crowd's as excited about Jinx as I am about Skarner. This is going to be a great game. Cloud9 really looking to appease all the fans here today.
Now they've got the Tahm Kench as well to protect Sneaky. Smoothie's going to have some answers for himself here. Tahm Kench from the support role, very good at trying to answer some global compositions. We already mentioned, you know, the Taliyah and the Gangplank, you know, trying to get that cross-map pressure in. The Tahm Kench is kind of one answer here for Cloud9. They'll try and, be able to keep up with that movement.
Now, one thing, looking at this from the perspective of a Skarner, you got 2 out of 5 champions on the enemy team that break your ulti just by being the champion that they are. Alistar Ultimate and Gangplank remove Scurvy. Both remove that effect. So Svenskeren is going to be the guy that you're looking at to start these things off unless you get a great Azir shuffle in there to get people displaced and start those fights off. I want to see how he plays this specifically going up against this Jax in the jungle that we've seen more and more of recently, honestly, playing that tank build, just being the front line, getting in there with the Counter-Strike.
And the thing about Jax with the Counter-Strike, you can Counter-Strike, so then the auto from Skarner to trigger the E, he's not able to get that through, so you can't get the stun off. There are a lot of answers that could make this game difficult for Svenskeren. You know, Ezreal, one of the more mobile AD carries, harder to pin down there with your Sting. But again,
that's how we separate the good from the great.
There you go. C9 do have a very capable team fighting power for later in the game.
And talking about, again, yesterday, both these teams looked so damn good. Cloud9 went up against Team Liquid, and they made Team Liquid look like a team that wasn't even on their radar. FlyQuest showed up, and with their intended roster for the first time, decimated people. I want to see which one of them keeps that momentum up throughout this week, because we're getting to the point now, Kobe. This is the second half of week number 4. We're getting into the mid part of the split. This is the big main chunk of where all this is leading. It's time that these teams start making some statements.
Yeah, we're into the meat of the LCS now. All right, let's get on to Summoner's Rift then.
On to Summoner's Rift for the first time today, Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. Now, JJ played with FlyQuest's Academy team this week, and we had an opportunity to ask him about his goals after the game.
I just really wanted to improve and prove that collegiate players could also play in high-level games and improve to the level of LCS. I think I might not be there quite yet, but I'm definitely getting there.
All right, well, he's here now. He's on the Rift, and now is the time to shine. Interesting also with Skarner, you always talk about the level 1s with your laners, and you're like, oh, you know, can we grab both Spires at the early game here?
Gold.
How do you feel in the 2v2? Because starting out with those Spires actually is quite a decent momentum swing. You don't have to give away your position by then taking it later on. It helps out tremendously with grabbing the Scuttle.
And one thing I want to mention, because a lot of people ask me, but what do the Spires do, haha? The Spires are actually one of the most critical parts of the entire champion. You get an incredible move speed boost, blue buff level mana regeneration, and so much attack speed, it'll make your head spin when you're in one of these Spires. So having those under control, imperative for Svenskeren being able to do what he wants to do in this champion early.
What is it that Skarner loves so much about Crystal Spires and Captain Flowers?
Well, I mean, he came from the Dominion map, where there was all kinds of those things. Well, wait, that was in the retcon lore.
It's fast. It's fun.
It's Dominion.
Now available in 4 spots on Summoner's Rift around the buff.
There's 6 spots, sir. We got them in the river, too.
They have both been collected. As you can see, bottom side there, FlyQuest were able to start out with the collection on the bottom river Spire. And they also have had both junglers start on the bottom side. So we'll see if they are able to affect that top side. We did have that explosive matchup earlier.
Now, one thing you also want to keep your eye on with these Spires, even though they don't give that global vision specifically, like depending on when they're going to be captured, you can tell when your opponent captures it by paying close attention to the mini-map. So you've got to be very mindful when you decide to capture those, because it will give your position away if your opponent is tracking that properly. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that as this game goes on. But Svenskeren will be able to farm up very, very quickly on this champion. We saw him take... Well, it wasn't him specifically that took it, I believe. No, wait. Yes, it was. It was Svenskeren that was able to take the level 4 Drake in one of the games yesterday. So that option could always be on the table as Anda goes for that Scuttle Crab. Likely not going to see anything too crazy just yet. Gangplank and Vladimir farming it up. As into Leah, same thing.
This is actually a very similar route to what Anda did yesterday versus Skarner as well. Takes the Scuttle, takes the Spire. And as you were mentioning, you know, there is a slight drawback to taking these, just like there is to popping one of the plants. When you pop the plant, you know, everybody's going to be able to see that you were there, but he doesn't care, as that's kind of the predicted route anyway, and he goes right back to farming his own jungle. Skarner, meanwhile, loving that power clear. Svenskeren is a little bit ahead so far in the jungle, the extra camp, because early on, experience means so much that yes, going for Scuttles and getting the vision is important, but Scuttle Crabs only give 10 experience. Yes, they do give you a decent amount of gold, but the levels are mostly about what camps you're going to be on. So you can see the early level 4 from Svenskeren, very slightly ahead of Anda, but he will get to go for the invade, and he's going to be able to steal away the Gromp. If he wanted to, he could pull it back to that Spire and try and get the speed, but he doesn't want to give away his position.
He's purposely leaving that deactivated. That's one of the mind games you've got to play with this champion is, do I want to get the Spire to have the faster, safer clear, or do I just leave that completely untouched? Have him with the illusion that his Gromp is still hanging out in the jungle.
Well, he's going over wards anyways. The illusion has been broken for me.
It's been broken for his opponents too, but he might not be fully aware of that. We're going to see how this continues to play out. Also going to be keeping eyes on this guy on your screen right now, Licorice on the Vladimir. Incredible performance versus Impact yesterday, seeing if he can reprise that here today against Flames Gangplank. Overall, it's FlyQuest building themselves up a slight gold lead of a couple hundred so far, just based off of farming and the fact that they've got 2 Kleptomancy users.
Yeah, so far haven't seen the bag of golds, but I wasn't quite looking at the
they're pretty sly
inventories there. Yeah, they have made some adjustments to Kleptomancy, so the best users were lowered on the proc rate a little bit. Not too much action so far, and it looks like, you know, this is kind of what's expected, right? Not a lot of early confrontation. Tom Kench is in the bottom side, so he's going to be able to keep most of the Alistar assisted engages fairly safe, as long as they spread out. Meanwhile, on top side, Gangplank and Vladimir just farming up. But the mid lane looks like that would be the one if they wanted to get any sort of early vision down, because Fly's taking a lot of damage in these trades with Jensen, and he has run out of potions, so he's gone way back there to get the recall off.
Once he does go back, of course, he is level 5 right now, so it'll only be a short time once he returns to lane before that ultimate becomes available. And you touched on it in Champion Select. The global potential of FlyQuest composition in this game means once all these guys hit level 6, once you've got the Gangplank ulti and the Talia ulti and the Ezreal ulti, I want to see some kind of a play come out of it.
Definitely could be in the works. As of right now, everything kind of going according to Cloud9 plan, I think. Svenskaren's been power farming a bit quicker than Anda on the Skarner, and he's going to be able to get, once again, off the first base to go replenish his wards and try and, get that vision game rolling.
Going with the Bomby Cinder towards that Cinder Hulk build that you would expect. We got to see him yesterday go for the Cinder Hulk into the Dead Man's Plate, but now it's Flame. Trying to find some damage here onto Licorice. Does get the Sanguine pull out. Empowered Transfusion only going to be used onto a minion. Extra damage will not find its way onto Flame, and he'll force Licorice away for now.
Yeah, it's getting a little scary for him because the level 6 Talia ultimate is available. So that's why you see him on the minimap. He's gone so far back, pushed out of lane, and he doesn't have teleport to get back there either. So Flame definitely doing very well for himself in the 1v1 up top side. With no jungler intervention and no support intervention, he's definitely bullying the other side of this matchup, pushing Licorice back to base where he'll have to walk from.
And Gangplank is so strong just as a laner once he has that sheen. The ability to constantly point and click your opponent, harass him, get those Kleptomancy procs at the same time. It's creating a difficult environment for Licorice as Sven and Smoothie try to steal away this blue buff.
Yeah, it is a good thing top side for FlyQuest, but bottom side is all Cloud9. That experience advantage that we talked about on Svenskeren due to his power farming, just straightforward clear with the Skarner, definitely seen here. He's level 6 already, and he has so much more pressure on the map than Anda does right now on Jax. That very impactful early game ultimate has to be respected because everybody's still with their flashes, and he's definitely able to pull them off. Not only that Gromp that they were able to take, but once again, some blue buff control for Jensen, who is able to pass that one off, and that means more problems for Fly himself, trying to hold on to mid lane control, which kind of reduces his ability to affect side lanes.
And just look at that ring of wards around the Drake in that bottom part of the map. 3 control wards, including one halfway deep into the enemy jungle. A couple of normal sight wards. They're really keeping control over this entire area. Smoothie does exactly what that Kinch pick is picked to do, keeping Sneaky safe in the Jinx.
Yep, just farming away, as is the plan. Now we got Vision in the jungle, but both junglers are also going to be able to fight over the Spire. Svenskeren can just push him off with the extra blue buff power that Jensen's bringing from the mid lane. And we'll just have a ward clearing party here as Svenskeren goes in, takes out the control ward as well.
Good old farm fest early on in the game. Both teams have plenty of scaling potential. You've got Azir, Vlad, and Jinx on one side. You've got Gangplank on the other side who's able to just farm up, get that money, become that 30-minute full build monster that we've seen him be before. So neither team really feeling the pressure to do a whole lot super early just now. You can see the first Drake also being a Cloud Drake doesn't really inspire either side to go crazy. Fly not going to find the seismic shove onto Jensen there in the mid lane, down below half HP himself. So Jensen maintaining that lane control, partly in thanks to that blue buff control we mentioned earlier. Seeing Cloud9 be able to steal away that blue buff from their opponent means not only do you have extra blue buff time on your own mid laner, but denying it from that enemy means he has less wave clear as well, less ability to respond.
Meanwhile, down bottom side, still trading over here. BF Sword picked up from Sneaky, and we have to start thinking about the support recalls as well. Because bottom lane is post-level 6 now, and that Tahm Kench ultimate can be used, to make a play for an early tower gold bonus. Lopside one of the map and try and pull down one of those turrets very easily. But mostly it's about this mid lane control. Jensen, again, pushing him off the turret. Svenskeren going for those invades. And this is something that people kind of talked about when Svenskeren first joined the team. If you look at Cloud9 in the offseason, where the questions was, how are they going to work together? Svenskeren, very aggressive jungler, and Jensen, very dominant laner. Now they're really combining there for some extra control, and it is mostly focused on this bottom quadrant of the map.
And they're ahead by so much farm. Jensen's up 15. If you look in the jungle, a 25 advantage for Svenskeren. Even bottom lane, Sneaky, building up a small lead for himself. The gold advantage for FlyQuest exists only in that top lane, pretty much. You can see 4,100 gold compared to 3,200, a 900 lead for the Gangplank, but that lead is being made up for when you look at the other roles. The Skarner with the lead, the Azir with the lead. The Ezreal and the Jinx are pretty much even. The Kleptomancy procs are making up for the small farm advantage on the Jinx, but overall, the solo lane power differing heavily between the two teams. Jensen on the Azir versus Flame on the Gangplank. The war of the hyper carries, the scaling, Kobe. Who's going to scale harder?
Well, as of right now, Jay goes in for another trade, gets the stun onto Tom Kench, and Sneaky a little bit of damage on the outside.
Yeah, Sneaky getting himself back in time. True Shot Barrage fired off, but it goes right between the goalposts. Turtle going to continue pressuring up now, firing off those Mystic shots. And we'll go over the wall with that Blast Cone, seeing maybe if they can set something up here. Weaver's Wall going to be coming in, will not block off the escape, but still 4 versus 2, first blood. Over to FlyQuest through the Gangplank ultimate. Sneaky's going to drop now as well, and grabbing the kill on that one. 2-0 FlyQuest.
And that's the expected play from Champion Select when you mention all of the global ultimates that FlyQuest have. But the response from Cloud9 is to push in both of those lanes, and as well move in to try and get the Rift Herald. Let's see. First turret bonus, though, should definitely go over to FlyQuest since they have everyone down there, and they should easily be able to secure this early gold lead. So let's see what they can do to push that tempo. Early on in the game, the cooldowns on global ultimates are fairly long, and they won't be available for any counterplay quite yet.
Ooh, speaking of counterplay, there's no QSS bot for Fly yet. Svenskeren, if he can land himself something here, is able to find the flash into the ulti. There comes the Shurima Shuffle, but the Shuffle's not going to find the mark just yet. The stun is down. There's that buff CC duration we're talking about, baby. Cloud9 get themselves on the board.
As you see that chase developing, I'm kind of wondering, will Fly respect the Flash Skarner ultimate and flash early? But he never decides to flash over the wall. He waits till after Svenskeren flashes in and gets the ultimate off. And that ends up costing his death because the counterplay of the Tom Kench ultimate we also talked about allows Smoothie and them to join, and they do get 1 kill back for themselves, but still, FlyQuest, because of their aggressive move, are able to retain that gold lead, and we'll see if they can continue to press down. The Cloud Drake is available, and they're fighting over the Scuttle Crab now as we go into the replay. Here's another look. Talia ultimate, Gangplank ultimate on bottom side, and Alistar is the perfect one to tank up any sort of tower dive. So this is kind of the expected play with the composition, and they pulled it off very well.
Oh, yeah. But then mid lane, Svenskeren with the Skarner's Revenge.
Let me hear your Skarner replay here, Captain Flowers.
I mean, it's pretty simple, Kobe. He flashes at him, and then he held his cursor over him, and he hit R.
Would you say Fly felt the sting?
He definitely felt the sting.
He also felt the burn and the power of the soldiers of Shurima there, because the kill did go over to Jensen, and that's where Cloud9
want it. Yeah.
Most definitely. He's almost at level 11 as well for the Azir. Nashor's Tooth is completed, so he's starting to get that scaling DPS in.
And that's what I mentioned earlier, right? Because of the nature of these games, because of how things feel very slow in the meta right now, as a Skarner, you don't feel pressured to build cooldown items, to build something that's going to be more for skirmishes and scrappy fights. You can go for this pure tank, like late game meatball build, because your ultimate doesn't need to be on a shorter cooldown. So Svenskeren, he knows he can make that play. He's just getting pure tankiness now, and Shelly's summoned into the mid lane to knock that turret down, even that count up between the teams.
All right, Cloud9 starting to open up the map, and very importantly, they've pushed the mid lane back here from FlyQuest. This is often referred to as mid lane priority. You know, Jensen, you can see on the map, Azir can raise that turret after they just killed it, and then they would force FlyQuest to lose out on CS, but they're just going to go for a fight here, it looks like. Jay is going to not push them off. There's no jungler there.
All right, Svenskeren with the smite secure onto that Drake. We saw some Ezreal objective steals yesterday, but we're not going to see any so far today.
Yeah, Ando was up there clearing wards, and the Flame Chompers did go down. Good move there by Sneaky. He kind of cuts off the path that Ando would try and take if they wanted to get, Jay to headbutt off Svenskeren and maybe try and get one of those sneaky steals in. But not able to do it with Ezreal or with the jungler. So that is going to be Cloud9 with the Cloud Drake.
Everybody's attention seems to be turning towards this top side now. You can see Skarner hovering around this top side of the jungle. Multiple members of FlyQuest also deciding to hang around in case Licorice got any funny ideas. Flame gets himself back. He'll be moving towards the bottom lane. Licorice going to reassign himself to that area of the map as well very soon. As Sneaky pushes up, and JJ just a little bit too late.
Oftentimes, if you're checking brush like that and you definitely want the stop, No matter what you find, you can just attack move into the bush if there are not minions around. That way, if you do run into that, then your champion will just straight go for it. But they're going to press down the turret anyways. It's going to be a trade a little bit here. Even though Flame has gone down bottom and Gangplank's pretty good at clearing off minions, I think they're going to get it anyways. And they might actually fight over the top one.
Licorice and Scarin trying to stop this. It's going to be 2 versus 3. Can they do it? Scarin and Licorice are going to have their work cut out for them. Sanguine Pool going to be used. Onto backing himself away. Licorice still going to be staying alive. Nice CC coming out from Scarin here. Weaver's wall comes through. Not going to find the cutoff immediately. Jensen's able to stop him, but Turtle still grabbing the kill onto Scarin. Licorice now looking to make his escape. Fly has got to be careful here. Doesn't want to walk into too many soldiers. Popping the heel, trying to catch up. Threaded volley. Can't quite hit the mark. Jensen and Licorice both get away, but Scarin can't say the same.
Yeah, Cloud9 really wanted to defend that and stall it a bit, but they end up giving over an extra kill. Almost 2. Very nice escape there from Licorice, getting down to the Scuttle Crab after using that cone. And here's the attempt at the 2v3 defense of the turret. You see they clear out the minions, but it doesn't matter as FlyQuest still finish it off. Then, during the Alistar ultimate, FlyQuest are trying to pressure, and they get pushed back a little bit here until the Taliyah ultimate comes in. Then we see FlyQuest going very aggressive. Turtle is the Ezreal, so he's definitely able to chase, and they force him over the wall here. Jensen, though, with these soldiers, buys an escape route there for Licorice to run down through to the rest of the team.
We're still looking at a real close game, though, Kobe. This is 2 turrets to 2 turrets. You've got a Cloud Drake on one side, 2 kill advantage on the other side, and a little over 1,000 gold separating the teams as we're about to crest the 17-minute mark. So I'm not seeing either side really start to run away with this game just yet. Both teams seem to be sort of making plays and responding to each other pretty well. So you've just got to wonder what becomes the breaking point.
Breaking point is going to be the next big global play. Gangplank Ultimate is available.
Ooh, Hourglass, or Stopwatch, I should say. Going to buy a little bit of extra time for Scarin there. Escaping the CC chain from JJ. But now that's down. You only get 1.
I mean, that's part of the metagame right now, though. Keeping track of all the stopwatches on the enemy team. There aren't as many, populating this frequently. But we still do have a couple left. Alistar, definitely some support plays that JJ could attempt as far as the initiations go. And they didn't use the Gangplank ultimate there, so they weren't fully baited and they weren't fully committing to any sort of all-in there. In the attempt. Both teleports as well for the top laners. They could join if one of those skirmishes does result in an all-in.
So I want to go ahead and check in real quick since we are talking about what is the breaking point for this game. When are we going to see something truly start to take off? Because items are coming online for a lot of these guys. Infinity Edge for the Jinx. You've got your Iceborne Gauntlet and Mana Moon combination for the Ezreal. Hextech GLP for Taliyah. Nashor's Tooth for Azir. Cinderhulk on both junglers. As now in the bottom lane, it's Licorice under pressure. Looking to maybe make an outplay here, but it's going to be very difficult. The rotation from Fly is enough to make sure they've got the kill as Flame will make his way out.
Again, if you're looking at the proactive plays, it's in the hands of FlyQuest, and they're able to pull the trigger here. Fly on the Taliyah, one of his main champions, able to get off the pincer movement here onto Licorice. They pick off one of the split pushers. It's only a kill, though. They aren't able to get objectives after it. Here's a replay, and a lot of this game is going to depend on how this 1v1 does turn. Licorice, this time around, is going to have to fight a 2v1, and that's not even going to be close.
Nope, not today. Speaking of split pushers, though, that Jax is working on a training. This is not pure tank Jax.
Yeah, we actually do see a substantial amount of competitive junglers going training for second on the Jax now. And I really do feel like if you don't have at least a Sheen item, it feels pretty bad to play that Jax. Like, full tank Jax is viable if your team is very behind or if you don't really have a main tank. But without the Trinity Force, you don't really apply the threat as a champion that you need to operate later in the game. So definitely support at least one offensive item pickup as far as Jax junglers go. And Anda now also just dinging level 11, so he's got 2 levels in that ultimate for the extra empowered autos that he's going to be able to get. But Cloud9 right now kind of setting into motion the next play. They're moving up, trying to take control of the top quadrant. That is the last outer turret. And the outer turrets are the easiest kind of standing gold early on in the game for people to try and converge on. You can see all of their vision is being used up on this side.
Yep, and if they can get that one, that's of course going to be more map control for them as well. Push up further into the enemy jungle. lay down some vision wards, lay down some control wards, just try to maintain enough control to maybe set up some kind of a play with the pick potential on the Azir, on the Skarner, maybe cut somebody off with the Tahm Kench, but second Drake is now live as well, so we might see somebody look to turn attention towards that. Baron now also on the table.
Meanwhile, we had an attempted roam on the minimap. You can see Azir, not quite as good a roamer as Talia as he walks over a ward, and so the pings go down. They just had to back off, but now Svenskeren.
Uh-oh, Sven. All right, he's just fine. Seismic Shove not quite going to find him today, but he is going to walk right back into Anda and Wild Turtle. Loses about 2/3 of his HP. Really going to have to be careful on this one. Going with that Summoner Spellbook with Sorcery combination means you don't have any real defensive tools in your setup.
And that big of a chunk out of the jungler is something that can spawn just an objective itself. Just taking out 50% of a jungler's life dissuades a lot of those aggressive moves, so FlyQuest immediately moved down to the Drake, and they're going to be able to pick up and even out the Clouds.
And of course, he did have one defensive tool in the stopwatch, but because that was used earlier, it becomes that much scarier. You can't really take those kinds of risks. Good on FlyQuest to make the call, grab themselves that Drake.
Now they're trying to get back up top to defend this. Sneaky's going to get a couple autos off. He does have Smoothie, you can see, waiting behind him in case there's any sort of global attempt to pick them and push them off.
All right, Sneaky forced back for now. Mentioned the Infinity Edge being completed on the Jinx, working on that seal item, but Licorice again finding himself in an unfavorable 1 versus 1. Flame trying to finish him off, goes forward with the flash away from Licorice as well. Flame still looking to chase this one down. Empowered Transfusion going to be coming up in just a moment here. Flame going to be stopped by the watch. Can't quite find the damage just yet, but he will cut him down underneath the turret.
And meanwhile, topside!
Topside, it's going to be a big old brawl as Jensen is immediately killed. Svenskeren likely going to be taken down next, but the gobble up from the Kench to get him away to safety, flashing over the wall so he can keep his ally alive as well. FlyQuest find themselves 2 across the map and immediately turn attention to Baron. Sneaky's Jinx is alive. Svenskeren still alive as well. Doesn't have a smite available. JJ looking to go in. Smoothie again going to be saving that jungler. Sneaky trying to run as much interference as he can. Flame still looking to go in further though. Can they find the kill? Onto this AD carry. The gat to the back and Flame's got the kill. Svenskeren with the flash away as JJ continues looking to chase this one down. Smoothie with the 3rd Devour on Svenskeren over the course of this extended fight to save him. The flank from Fly still trying to make this happen. FlyQuest will not find the Baron, but the victory in this fight and the tempo in this game is theirs.
Flame is making his mark on this game in the same matchup that we saw yesterday. He says without any sort of intervention from Smoothie, he's going to take over this 1 versus 1. He's the one who got the gank from Fly, from the Talia to help it out. But man, he takes this 1 versus 1, Licorice there into the brush, and Flame does not hesitate. He's chasing this one all the way, goes in for the flash, continues to fire away, and even with the stopwatch here, buying some extra time for the extra empowered Q to come up from Licorice. He does get his heal off, but it doesn't matter. Flame finishes that kill, and then since he's alive and he has the teleport available, he's going to try and capitalize on the top lane play as well. This was FlyQuest, again, getting another pick, so they also took down Jensen here, the Azir, that big DPS threat, and since they took him down so early, that's why they got the control of the map.
Jensen just got absolutely annihilated in that fight. No chance to contribute or do anything meaningful for his team. As now Cloud9 still finding themselves only 1,500 gold down. Have to make sure they don't fall into any more traps like that. Licorice especially going to have to be very mindful. This is not the same game he was playing yesterday versus Impact. This is not the same matchup. He's not in the same kind of a spot where he can just do as he pleases in that 1 versus 1. Got to pay respects to Flame here. 3-0 and 2 on the Gangplank. Ball of Malmortius, Trinity Force, Mercury Treads. Force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Flame building a bunch of magic resist for this 1 versus 1. Has gotten that extra assistance, and he is definitely in control of the side lane. So this completely changes the way the game is played here. FlyQuest are the ones making another move.
Svenskeren, the one who's the target yet again. Turtle maintaining distance, but also applying the damage. The flank from Licorice could be coming in to turn this fight, though.
But Flame is here. He's roamed up from the bottom side, just walked over, even without teleport, and he's going to be enough of a threat.
Full 5 versus 5 fight potential. Weaver's Wall used to cut off Cloud9 from reinforcing their own turret, and that is the final outer turret falling on the side of Cloud9. 3-3 in that turret count. Gangplank ulti comes down. True Shot Barrage coming out. Seismic Shove will not find the mark yet again. Smoothie with those saves. Clutch time and time again.
All right, FlyQuest now do have control of the map once again. They can try and clear out the vision. Flame immediately going bottom side again to apply the pressure. And he cannot be 1v1'd by anyone on the C9 squad. It would have to be a Tom Kench bringing extra people if they wanted to try and go for him. And in that case, FlyQuest, with the control they have topside, would be able to try and pressure on Baron. So that's why FlyQuest seem like they have so much control right now, because they're holding that extra trump card.
And it's just such a big thing. You mentioned it earlier. This game is going to be swung one way or the other pretty heavily based on that 1 versus 1, based on who has the momentum and the tempo in that. And so far, everything's coming up Flame, man. This guy is frightening on this gangplank. The CS is even between the two. I've got to applaud Licorice for, despite the fact that things have looked a little bit rough for him this game, 0-2-0, his farm has been kept up immaculately. He's still very relevant thanks to the farm. If you look at what's going on in the mid lane, Jensen with an 80 CS lead over his opponent, showcasing he knows how to get that economy maximized there as well.
Yeah, we still haven't seen Cloud9 flex the strongest part of their team composition. They haven't been able to get a front-to-back 5v5, but Sven now is fighting on the Spire. All right, now he's hiding in the pit.
Now he's running away.
I'm not a dragon.
Nope, just a big old Scorpion. Skritter's out, water walking, celerity, boots. He's got everything he needs to get away fast. Also had the flash available if he had to go over that wall in the Drake pit. But the next Drake, Kobe, that's the Infernal Drake. That's the fight over me Drake. That's the one that we're going to get to see some team fights for.
That definitely is one of the big draws on the map. And I want to see how FlyQuest play this, because again, Cloud9 would like a more standard team fight where they get to use Jinx and Azir, free firing from a backline with the zoning of a Vladimir. Even though Licorice in the 1v1 can get pushed around a little bit by Flame, in a 5v5 team fight still gets off a lot of AoE. So see if FlyQuest can utilize the side lane pressure first. And it looks like they've got Anda just starting it up with Fly and the rest of them running kind of intervention here, where Cloud9 are threatening Baron in response.
Cloud9 saying, all right, you want to go for the Infernal? That's fine. We're going to go for something bigger. We're going to scare you into thinking we are. Bigger Spire. All right, 15 gold. But actually, it's only like 7 gold per person because there's a bunch of them on the Spire. Let's see how the fight goes down here. Anda did successfully solo that Infernal Drake. Very easy with the completed Trinity Force. Flame threatening some damage here, maybe. Nope, nice shot from Sneaky, sniping that barrel down.
Yeah, and just for good measure, Smoothie also devouring. You can't take any chances with those Gangplank barrels.
No.
We're getting into the stage of the game where Flame can take out 50% of backline health if he's able to get a good chain. And Sneaky, definitely wary of that.
Plus, we're starting to get crit on Flame now as well. With Phantom Dancer completed, that means you've essentially got a 1 in 3 chance for that barrel to be a big barrel. Fly in some trouble, having to flash away, but Sven goes after him. He's got the pull. There's no QSS, and that's exactly what Cloud9 needed.
Tom Kench there, Smoothie able to be the point man once again for Cloud9. They find the pick on the mobile mid laner of Fly, and they're going to run straight up that mid lane now.
FlyQuest struggling to respond to this in time, it seems. The Gangplank ultimate going to be used to deter the Cloud9 push, but now with that global ulti down, Cloud9 will summon themselves an Azir turret on the tier 2 mid and move towards Baron.
That could buy some more screen time here for the Baron bait. They're going to be able to take the Spire and push it down. Shield goes up. Gangplank teleport coming in. Fly wants to fight it.
Who needs a bait when you can go for the real thing? Baron already down to 1/3 HP. Cloud9 are burning this, but FlyQuest will not take that lying down. Turtle going to be found there in the back line. Licorice looking to finish him off. JJ with the stopwatch, keeping himself alive, distracting the rest of C9, but he's already fallen. Turtle is too low to do much more in the fight. The flash away from the Super Mega Death Rocket as FlyQuest now has to somehow find a way to stop this, or Cloud9 will have a huge win here. Flame off to the side, looking to make those barrels happen. Not quite finding it. Sidestepping the zap, just buying time, trying to get Cloud9 distracted. Baron down to 2,500 HP. Svenskeren going to be taken low. Seismic Shove not finding anything just yet. Fly trying to keep them away. Flame looking for the barrels. The turret self-destructs. FlyQuest have now taken control over the area. They've forced Cloud9 off.
What a dangerous little dance there around Baron. In the end, Cloud9 pull out of the pit just barely because Fly shows up on the Taliyah, threatening to pin them all inside of the pit. And they weren't quite sure on the exact timing of that Gangplank ultimate. later and later stages into the game, it's hard to keep track of that cooldown. Right now, though, FlyQuest taking the opportunity to jump back onto that objective, and they're burning it down.
Oh, here we go again, Kobe, down to half HP. Baron gonna be taken lower and lower. JJ denying Spin Scare in the entrance, and FlyQuest will find Baron, but where does the fight go from here? Flame gonna have that mob proc, trying to get himself away. The zap finds its way onto JJ, who's gonna use the Alistair ultimate to buy time. The sacrificial lamb has been chosen. FlyQuest will lose their support, but nobody else in exchange for grabbing that Baron.
Touch and go here. Good move by FlyQuest, making that very quick call. No hesitation to slip back into the Baron pit and burn it down. 1 kill there for the objective. Definitely worth it for them. Let's see what Cloud9 can try and respond with during the 4v5 power play.
This has been such a damn good game. Both teams are just playing their hearts out here, just blow for blow over and over again. FlyQuest getting themselves the edge for now, 3,000 gold up. But it's all about what you get. It's all about what that buff translates into. There's still 2 turrets standing outside the Cloud9 base. That's kind of where I expect to see this focus go.
And they have to be very careful with how they operate. Because again, there's so much damage potential from Sneaky and Jensen. We're getting into the later stage of the game. Crit multipliers are all here for Sneaky. If the Jinx gets the 1 kill to get excited, it becomes very, very difficult. Not only to keep her pinned down because she's so mobile, but the damage threat just goes through the roof now as well. And we're definitely going to have to see FlyQuest utilize, again, the globals that they have, the side lane pressure, try and get multiple minion waves buffed up with the Baron. They're trying to coordinate right now the bottom lane as well. Fly, you can see on the minimap heading over there, but he's got 2 minion waves he has to catch up with, so they're going to stall this out another 30 seconds.
Yep, everybody else just has to pump the brakes a bit, wait for Fly to get this shoved. That's how split pushes work. Everybody's got to be at that same point in the map, shoving up together. If you make somebody answer multiple lanes, but answer them 10 seconds apart, it's not really multiple lanes.
And if you're looking at it from Cloud9's perspective, when FlyQuest are actually spread out like this, your eyes are on the Skarner. Your eyes are on Spin Scarin. Will he be able to get a pull onto anyone?
Ooh, trying to go for the flash there, but not finding it. The jump away from Anda is enough.
I mean, their eyes are on him. Eyes wide open.
Yep. Eyes wide open. I see you coming, boy. Spin Scare and not finding that. That feels really bad, though, because as the Skarner, Flash ult is so huge. The difference between normal ult and Flash ult is real big.
Hey, they get the slow.
But can't quite find anything else. The Counter-Strike doing wonders to stop the stun from coming through. As the push continues up here in the mid lane, but Jensen and Sneaky doing a good job clearing that all out. Jensen going to be taken incredibly low, though. And with the Counter-Strike again, keeping himself safe here as Fly continues to push bottom side. Flame doing the same up top. Spin Scaring, just hoping somebody walks close to this that's not Jax.
Yeah. And he's using the extra speed of the Spire there to try and close the distance. But we've seen the same interaction 3 times now. FlyQuest used the Talia wall to push them off the turret, try and get some damage down.
All right, let's see if they can actually translate this into the turret take, though. They still got a little bit more damage to go. Flame with some extra deeps from
Here
that
it is.
arrow, but Licorice with the flank. This could be what Cloud9's looking for. Top of the Hemo Plague onto Turtle. Now the counter engage from FlyQuest. Onto jumping in, the Counter-Strike gonna be used, but the suppression is down, and Jensen goes on a killing spree. FlyQuest efforts are in vain. JJ's gonna be kept alive by the heal from Wild Turtle, but Cloud9 win the fight.
We have to be so careful, again, when they are collapsing like this. What a good call from Cloud9. They know that they want to force this 5-on-5 hard so they can actually try and make use of the extra damage. Licorice with the good flank does get enough threat onto the back line while actually not overcommitting. He backs out during the second half of his Sanguine Pool, and they're able to retreat to the Azir turret, utilizing Skarner ultimate to ensure they get 1 kill and defend the Baron. There it is, Licorice. He goes straight for the back line, gets his Hemo Plague. #1 target was Wild Turtle, forces him back there. Meanwhile, Spin Scarin just ults the front line. That's what you want to do. Grab 1 secure kill for yourself, because Jensen was already able to raise his Azir turrets and get them some defense to work around.
It was Fly's heal, not Wild Turtles. Either way, they kept that support alive, which was the bottom line for this team, as now Cloud9 turns attention back towards the Drake. It will be Cloud Drake #3 for the game, #2 for the team, and that's the last elemental we'll see this time around, Kobe. Elder Drake now, another big neutral buff coming up 6 minutes from now.
Yeah, that scaling team fight starting to take shape here for Cloud9. And it's very, very scary if you are FlyQuest, seeing this juggernaut headed down, mid and bottom being pushed right now. They're going to transfer over to the secondary turret, and Cloud9 going to try and force this one down.
Flame gets himself slowed down. Skarner constantly on the front line, always looking for the opportunity to make some sort of a pull happen. But Cloud9 happy to just take the turret instead. They are the ones, again, leading in turret count when it was their opponents who got the Baron buff. FlyQuest didn't get any turrets from that.
Very strong defense from Cloud9 due to the 5v5 they were able to force in mid lane. FlyQuest tried to, remember, they were the ones who grouped up, utilizing that Talia wall in that attempt to zone C9 off the turret that still stands.
Baron respawning 90 seconds from now. That's clearly going to be the point of contention between these two teams. Fly would get those lanes pushed out, seeing what they can do in terms of controlling the map enough to maybe get the chance to just rush down another Baron like they did the first time, but Cloud9 will be ready for that. They need to make sure they're approaching this carefully from the perspective of both sides, quite honestly. Like, one big mistake from either team here could spell the end of the game, both directly or indirectly. And so far, Cloud9 has had solid team fighting. Licorice's flanks have worked, at least in the last fight, it worked out very well. Previously, wasn't quite able to find it, but now on that 5-item Vlad, even if he wasn't winning the split push, even if things looked pretty bad earlier, he's still real scary.
It's an interesting conversation that we've had before, too, as far as 5-item versus 6 items. People count boots when they're talking about full builds being 6 items, but for some reason, when they're looking at them, right now, they're like,
four item Vlad. I actually had to go through that in my brain before I said that sentence. I was like, I don't know if I should call him 4-item or 5-item, but I know that if he had one more, I would call it 6. So I'm just going to do 6 minus 1. I graduated first grade. That's 5.
That's some quick math there, Captain
Yeah, we got
Flowers.
some quick math.
There we go.
For stun, Svenskeren going to be the one who ends up getting the enemy jungler killed. Jensen with the soldiers for reinforcements. Sven is taken low, but he's not out of the picture just yet. Licorice thinking maybe he can make this fight go on a little bit longer. JJ taken very, very low.
And that is going to be a huge amount of control for Cloud9. Baron has arrived. Perfect timing for them, but Licorice takes a lot of heat.
Whew. That last Mystic shot from Ezreal just barely not going to get him. As Licorice walking away, the Weaver's Wall comes out onto Baron. Cloud9 starting it up.
Yeah, they're trying to get a little vision there now. Flame is going to have to be the hero here for FlyQuest. Big AoE comes down.
That Baron is already gone. Svenskeren with the smite secure. FlyQuest trying to find something here. Svenskeren going to be taken low. JJ in the middle of the fight trying to keep himself alive. Licorice, again, no chemo plague. Trying to stay safe in the back part of the pit, but he will get himself over the wall with the flash. Sneaky on the front line, firing that auto off. Can he get it? Flame looks to go over, but he can't quite do it. The shutdown for Jensen.
And now the teleport's going to come in to ensure it. Licorice is coming in. There's the Vlad.
He's able to find the damage. Fly goes down. They're going to find JJ here as well. Things have gone fantastically for Cloud9. Wild Turtle behind enemy lines and alone. They don't even care. Their sights are set on the base.
Ooh, Flame trying to trade crits there with Sneaky, but Sneaky gets the last laugh. And that is going to be Cloud9 demolishing the FlyQuest base here. They run straight up the middle with the Baron buff, 5 men strong.
This could just be the game, Kobe. This should just be the game. All they've got is a Jax in the jungle and one Ezreal standing between them and winning this game. If that was a crit, that would have killed Turtle. Super Mega Death Rocket going to be blocked up by Onda. Svenskeren with the pull on that Jax into the entirety of Cloud9. A little bit more damage to do it. A god like Jensen, a Hemo Plague onto Turtle, and Cloud9 off the back of that fight will just put the final nails in this coffin right here, right now. They're on to the Nexus. Unless FlyQuest have some sort of an immaculate defense planned out, this will end right now. Smoothie going to be taken low. Licorice as well. Cloud9 win the game.
We scaling, boys.
Scaling all day long. The team fight comp came online. Cloud9 played it well, and as soon as they found that one big fight, off to the races.
It's what a lot of teams have been defaulting to in the current meta. FlyQuest, they played a lot of that early game very well, especially Flame. Fly was able to get there with a Talia roam to help him out with one of the solos, and they were able to have a lot of power early on, but the defense from Cloud9 during the Baron buff, the teleport flank in from Licorice completely turns the tide, and that was enough money. That's all that they needed to start grouping up and using that 5v5 power to be able to end out this game.
Both teams looked good this game, though. FlyQuest looked like they were doing really well in the earlier parts of the game. They were using their global elements properly. They were split pushing the flame. They were using the walls to cut people off. It just wasn't fast enough. Cloud9 knew how to turtle. Like you said, they defended very well against the Baron push. They didn't lose a single turret. And it made it so they didn't succumb to the FlyQuest win condition, and eventually their own was just too far online to stop.
Yeah, Sneaky didn't even have to get a single kill that game on the Jinx, but he was doing so much damage output with the long-range rockets. He just farmed up the crit items, and the pressure that they're able to put out with all of the DPS, as you can see from the graph from those 3 members, was enough to earn so much for the objectives that they're trying to set up.
I mean, when you've got Azir and Jinx together, you're talking about massive amounts of fast-firing, long-range AoE damage, and it's just so hard to deal with. But to hear more about how Cloud9 pulled that back, let's send it over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Cloud9 pushed to their limits in their victory here, moving to 7-1 over FlyQuest today. But that's where I want to start. The fact that this game was even as close as it was, and FlyQuest had many an opportunity to pull this one out.
Right, I think you can kind of look at this as potentially a blueprint on how to attack C9 in the future. They had a lot more focus on roaming. We said you got to out-macro C9 a little bit in the early game. They did a pretty good job of doing that. They didn't let Licorice get snowballing, which is something that C9 loves to play around, and then Smoothie was pretty inactive in the early game. So I think this is something where you can take that as a way to go against C9.
And I also wonder that C9, if they chose to do this or not, like clearly they know they can win with Smoothie on Alistair. They've also won a lot of games with Taric. So Taric and Tristana were up, and they decided to go with Jinx Tahm Kench, which is a slower, later game style. The Tahm Kench can be clutch in teamfights to save the Jinx. But if you were Trist Taric, the whole teleports in with Skarner zooming in and Vladimir flanking, like that's an easier to execute team comp that I thought C9 would go for. But absolutely, when we had our win conditions before the day of like get Smoothie on a playmaker, Tahm Kench not necessarily a playmaker, and FlyQuest then also went to neutralizing Smoothie in that bottom lane.
Yeah, absolutely. So they start off with this combo, they get the wave pushed in, a couple seconds later, Onda, Fly, JJ, everyone collapses, the GP ult on top of it, everything executed on killing this bot lane.
Yeah, a really beautiful sequence of plays there by FlyQuest to get them low with the first headbutt pulverize, and having played very passive in lane up until that point, almost minimizing risk, but then converting with the double kill and the turret kill afterwards was really nice.
I think more importantly, too, what that replay shows is how much attention was therefore given to the bot lane, and how, Jad, as you called out, the importance of roaming for Smoothie and helping C9 get ahead. He couldn't leave this lane.
And he was in this matchup yesterday, Vlad versus GP. Smashed impact in it, and we're going to show the Smoothie roaming reel. It doesn't exist this game because he never helped him out. So you can see Smoothie 29 CS up at 15 versus 14 this game, and then it actually neutralized even more because he never got that big lead on the Gangplank, who also built a little bit of MR. But I don't even necessarily think this is that much Licorice. I do have to shout out Flame a bit, but it's mostly the roaming. Like the fact that he didn't have a support ganking his lane.
If you just look at C9's games, even then, sometimes it's Jensen taking TP and showing up on the Zillion. They've consistently all season long played around Licorice. This is one of the few times where he almost got no help the entire game. Jensen had a great game on Azir, pushed in up 50 CS because Fly's running around the map to try and get side lane advantages, which he did a great job of doing. But it does seem like you can potentially attack them this way until team fights break out.
Yeah, and Cloud9, to be fair, had Gathering Storm on Jinx and Azir, and they had the Tahm Kench to eat them, and they had a better frontline tank jungler in the Skarner to be able to pull in an enemy tank when necessary. So they had solid win conditions in the game, and you can kind of see it come to fruition when the game is pretty close here. They get a pick, tank jungle versus tank jungle, and just look how fast Jax dies.
That's all basically Jensen damage. I mean, Skarner gets an assist for existing as that fight happened, but that's basically what Azir does late game with Gathering Storm, like you said. So that is kind of why, despite how different this game looked, C9 was never really out of it. They always had the advantage in the front and back line.
And to be fair, even these fights become incredibly close. I have to give credit to Flame for a couple attempts at winning the game, right? Some aggressive play to maybe win it all. They don't work out for him just by ounces of health.
Right. Flame tries to be a hero. He ults the Baron pit. You can see a little bit later he goes for the assassination on Sneaky, but doesn't quite get the damage.
It was a really close game, too. Like, this was the first time that C9 did not get the first Baron, as FlyQuest got the first one this game. So you can see that they were playing very, very well. They just couldn't quite close it out. And here he goes for that assassination
Gets
onto
the barrel.
Sneaky, gets the barrel,
Gets the
800,
barrel.
goes to the flash Q. No,
Literally, I wish I knew the actual number of HP points that Sneaky had left there, but it couldn't have been many as the bar looked entirely black. But here's where I want to transition the conversation now, because we talked about coming into this. It's kind of a peculiar substitution to be bringing in JJ after a big win yesterday for FlyQuest. What was our opinion on the way that he performed? Because from the outset of the game, the bot lane was going in their favor.
Yeah, I think the bottom lane is still going to be undecided for these guys. Like, Stun had an amazing game yesterday, player of the game, but the organization was very clear that they were putting in JJ as planned before the week because they still haven't locked their final roster. And one game on stage versus week's worth of scrims, they're going to take the week's worth of scrims for their results in the long term. I think it's still undecided because I would say as far as debuts go, you weren't expecting FlyQuest to beat C9. I think a lot of people were expecting C9 to beat them a lot more
To
badly.
smash
So
them, in a sense.
I think FlyQuest is going to be relatively happy with what JJ did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously last game with the comp that they had, Stunt had an easier time, I would say, executing on what they needed him to do. Here, JJ mostly still was able to do that. He is Alistar. People collapsed on his engages. That first play in the bot lane, a couple of team fights, he was able to lead them off in those situations. So I think he looked really, really good here. Like Jet said, probably still a position battle between those two going forward, but good weekend for both of them, all things considered.
Yes, very much so. Cloud9 moving to 7-1. Of course, this will be the 5th game in a win streak for them, so looking very good. But, Jat, to your point about whether or not maybe this is a Cloud9 that's experimenting in their ways of winning with their draft strategy, because we always look at Reaper as one of the guys who is quite proficient in the drafting phase.
Yeah, he's super good, and he has a lot of different drafts that he likes to move between. So it is also really important with the way the meta changes for them to be able to win on Smoothie, other than things that are the ones starting all the fights. So they have to build those muscles up during the regular season because the ultimate goal is winning LCS and going international.
All righty, it's time to step away for a quick break. When we return, it's Golden Guardians versus 100 Thieves. Don't touch that browser.
Like, actually too big for my head.
Alright, perfect.
It's too big for his